Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm skipping the whole intro. No kitties today. They're taking the day off because this video is gonna be very serious. I am a no niche channel and I definitely just post diverse videos here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do. I have always watched a lot of true crime videos on YouTube. Creators like Bailey Sarian, she does Murder and Makeup Mondays, and Kendall Ray, who does a whole lot of research on her videos. I love their content and I've been dying, no pun intended, to make a video like this for you guys. And since I'm from Brazil and I know a very scandalous story from an actress who found her demise at the hands of her co-star, I thought, well, why not? Let me do some research and let me bring it to you guys. If you are one of my subscribers who love the tea or who loves my silly content, you may skip this one. I won't be angry at you. This story happened in 1992 and I was 9, but I still remember like it was yesterday. There are so many different versions of what happened and I'm going to tell you all of them. Some say because of jealousy, money, or fame, and some say it's just because of a misunderstanding. So grab a snack, get comfy, let's get to it. Daniella Perez was born in Rio de Janeiro in August 11 of 1970. She was daughter to engineer Luis Carlos Salpiquete Perez and writer Gloria Perez. Her mother was a very important, if not one of the most important, soap opera writers of Brazil. She used to work for the biggest TV network in Brazil, and they're pretty big to this day. If you get a job or a gig at that network, you become pretty famous. Many Brazilian YouTubers who got a lot of clout on YouTube end up in that network. So yeah, her mom is a big deal. Daniela was described as charismatic, talented, sweet, very delicate girl, and everyone always said that she had a bright future. At age 5, she started dancing classes and became a ballerina. By the time she was a teenager, she was invited to join several dancing groups, becoming a professional dancer. When she was around her early 20s, she auditioned for a smaller network telenovela or soap opera. I'm just gonna keep to soap opera. And she was casted for a small part as a tango dancer. There she met, fell in love, and got married to another actor, Raul Gazola. They got married in 1990 when she was 20 years old. Their marriage was described as loving, very affectionate. They were together all the time. The families got along super well, and whenever they were not together, they were always on the phone, they were always communicating, they were always in contact with each other. Her second acting opportunity came when her and her dancing group were invited to audition to one of her mother's soap opera at the bigger network. She auditioned separately from her dance group and she got a small part. Once that soap opera was over, she got invited into a new soap opera by a director. He was a pretty well-respected director in the soap opera business. She was casted to be the sister of the protagonist of that soap opera. Her fourth and last role was in 1992 to a soap opera called De Corpo e Alma. I'm gonna try to translate on the fly, but let me know down in the comments if I did it right. From body and soul. I think that's what it means, but I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you know Portuguese, if I translate it right. And once again, she took the role of the sister of the protagonist. But this time, even though she was getting the sister of the protagonist, it was already expected that her role was gonna have its own storyline and it was going to be a bigger role. Her role was a lot more intricate. On this soap opera, she had a boyfriend where he was the macho kind of guy and the jealous dude who was always like watching how short her dress was or how much she was dancing. And her character, Yasmin, was a 20-some-year-old girl who loved dancing samba and who loved drinking and hanging out at the bar and being a party girl. She was romantic partner with actor Guilherme de Padua. Guilherme was born in November 29 of 1969 in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, which is like a border with Rio, about a 4 to 6 hour drive, so it's pretty close. He decided to move to Rio in his early 20s because of this huge network there. All of the actors and models and actresses, they all go to Rio to try to get their big break, and that's what he did. He first started his career in theater when he got to Rio. Later in interviews, he was described as problematic and rude and conceited, as well as he came off a little arrogant. He was very full of himself, and he wasn't enjoying doing theater at all. In the second play that he was doing in Rio, he met Paula Tomás. They got married in 1991. Finally, in 92, he got his big break. He got the part of the jealous boyfriend of Yasmin. It was the jackpot for him because Daniela was already known as Brazil's sweetheart. She was a trailblazing actress. Everybody loved her. Her mother was writing the soap opera, so for him it was like, oh my god. They had great chemistry. Their characters were very engaging and very explosive. They very rapidly became almost like more loved than the protagonists of the soap opera. They were getting so much traction and so much love. Finally, let's fast forward to December of 1992. Daniela and Guilherme that day were busy. They had a full day of filming. Allegedly, Guilherme finished first and was released at 7:30 at night. But Daniela still had a couple of scenes to film, so she stayed behind. Around 9 o'clock, Daniela left the studio and started heading to her car. There was a bunch of girls there, and they waited for the actors to come out after work, and they would take pictures with them. And Daniela came out. One or two little kids came to, ask for a picture, and she took a picture with them. And that was the last picture of Daniela alive. The police released the picture but scratched the faces of the kids so they can't be recognized. This is where things are going to get a little complicated. There are so many versions of this story, and I will use the version that the prosecution used in the trial. Guilherme leaves at 7:30 and goes back home. His wife at the time was 4 months pregnant. They were having already a lot of marital issues. She was growing jealous and suspicious of a relationship between Daniela and Guilherme. His wife wants to go and talk to her. He grabs his wife. She goes in the car with him. She hides in the back seat under a bed sheet, and he drives back to the studio allegedly. There, he parks, and he also gets approached by these same kids that Daniela did, and he takes pictures with them. He finds Daniela, they start talking, and they both leave in their respective cars. Daniela leaves and she goes to a gas station to get some gas. He follows her several meters away from the gas station, and then he asks her to stop the car. So he drives parallel to her. She sees him. He says, stop the car. She stops the car. He comes out of his car and goes to her direction. Once she opens the door of the car, he proceeds to punch her in the face, rendering her unconscious and allegedly breaking her mandible. He puts her in the passenger seat and drives away. Paula, his wife, gets out of the back seat of the car and goes into the driver car, driving behind him. They arrive at a deserted area with unconscious Daniela. He drags her body out of the car and puts her down on the floor of this area. Allegedly, Paula comes out of the car with a pair of scissors and proceeds to stab Daniela while she was unconscious. During my research, I've seen different numbers, but it's between 16 to 19 times, depends on which research or interview you see. And a coroner said that at least 8 of those hit the heart and 4 of those hit the left lung. Then she had another 4 in the neck area, which one was so strong that it broke into her trachea. And the trachea is a cartilage, so it's a pretty tough area to break into, and they end up perforating it because of the violence of the act. After they were done, they went back to the car. They hid the murder weapon underneath the seat of the car. They drove to the car wash, had the car completely washed and cleaned, and drove back home. Paula went to sleep. Then allegedly, Guilherme went to the beach and tossed the scissors in the sea. The day of her murder, Daniela's mom was calling Guilherme very persistently because she hadn't arrived at home yet. And they were working together. So she called him a couple of times asking him if he had seen her, and he just told her no. It really looked like they could have gotten away with it. How did they get caught? If we go back to the scene of the crime, during the moment that they were busy, a passerby drove in front of the area. He saw 2 cars parked at a very secluded and deserted area. That person thought it was very suspicious. In Rio, it's not a good idea to stop your car in a deserted, woody area. Rio is not the safest state to do that kind of stuff. So he decided to stop, write down the both car plates. Once he got home, he called the police and let them know. After a couple of hours, the police finally arrives at the scene of the crime. As soon as they arrived, they noted that only 1 car was there. They thought it was really weird. They parked. It was already dark, so they started walking around, and one of the policemen trips on Daniella's body, and that's how they found her. By the next morning, the news had already got a grasp of the situation, and there was news about her murder everywhere. And also because of the nature of the crime and her wounds, everybody was so outraged by what happened. She was such a beloved actress. She was Brazil's sweetheart. Who could have ever done that to her? In Brazil, we do not embalm bodies unless you have a lot of money, I think. But as far as I'm aware of, we don't embalm bodies in Brazil. So whenever people pass away, you only have like a couple of days to do an awake and the funeral and bury them. And that quickly, Daniella was getting her funeral. Probably the next day or the day after that, she was getting buried. And because the police was still investigating the situation, nobody knew who did it. Nobody had any suspects. The only lead the police had was the car plate. Guilherme had the audacity to show up at Daniella's funeral. He was with the family. He was hugging Daniella's widow and mom, and he was with them the whole time. Meanwhile, the police went to the studio and asked the security to give them a record of all of the cars that were parked in the parking lot the whole day of the murder. The license plate of the car that wasn't there when the police arrived was OM1115. And the police found a record at the studio of a license plate LM1115. So they thought it was pretty suspicious. It could have been that the license plate had been alterated because the suspect didn't want to get caught. And then they found out who the car belonged to, and they went to find Guilherme. Once they found Guilherme and the car, they looked inside the car and they noted that the car has been washed recently, but still had blood stains under the seat. Right away, Guilherme was arrested. He confessed to the crime, but he tried to say that his wife was not involved at first. But then Paula got arrested a little later, and she also confessed to the crime. They both got arrested and remained arrested until the day of their trial. They got arrested in 1992. Their trial was in 1997. They divorced while they were in prison. Guilherme was convicted of second-degree manslaughter with foul motive and impossibility of defense of victim. He got sentenced 19 years in prison. He was already arrested for 4 years, so those 4 years counted. But he got out on the 7th year for good behavior. After being released, Guilherme moved back to his hometown, joined the Baptist church, and he married a woman 14 years younger than him. Obviously, it didn't work out and they divorced, and then he married a 3rd time. He also became a pastor in his church. It's also alleged that he attempted to write a book telling his version of the story, but before he could publish the book, Daniella's mother took him to court to get the book to not be published, and she won. Her reason for that is because in the past he has tried to hurt her daughter's reputation. He also had been invited to do an interview, but Daniella's mother once again reminded him that if he lied or said anything that could be defamatory to the memory of Daniella, she would sue him. So he didn't do any interviews until later. Paula was convicted to the same charges. However, because she was under 21 at the time of the crime, her sentencing was a little lighter, only 15 years. Paula had their child in prison and he was taken care of by family members. She also was released on the 7th year. Paula allegedly changed her name, got married again, had 2 babies, and she went back to school. She went to law school. Now she's a lawyer. Go figure. She now lives at a very expensive apartment in a very expensive neighborhood of Rio. They were also ordered by the court to give damages to the mother of Daniella and Daniella's widow of 400,000 reals, and also they were mandated to pay for the funeral expenses and burial expenses, as well as all legal fees for the family. They never really paid for it. She had to take them to court to get the money. In 2016, she won the motion. I'm not sure if they ever paid. I couldn't find any information anywhere, but if you guys know if they paid, let me know. A lot of people were unhappy with these numbers of sentences that they got, and rightfully so. How did they get manslaughter, second degree? It's believed to be a premeditated case, especially once he changed the plate. But the whole thing with them, that being their first offense, counts in Brazil. Brazil also does not have life imprisonment or capital punishment. As well as, there's another detail, at the time of this murder, second degree manslaughter with foul motive and impossibility of defense of victim. It was not considered a heinous crime. I don't know how. Their crime was not a heinous crime. However, after the trial, Daniela's mom started a campaign and collected 1,300,000 signatures to actually add their crime into the list of heinous crimes, and she succeeded. And what does that mean? Now the sentences will be harsher. It would be more difficult to get lower numbers on their sentencing. Perpetrators will not be able to pay bond to get out of jail while waiting on trial, as well as they will not be able to apply for open or semi-open time served. However, even though she accomplished a huge change in the legislation of Brazil, that new legislation does not apply to Guilherme and Paula, because at the time of the change, they were already sentenced and serving time. Let's go over all of the possibilities that have been put out there of why did they do this? What is the motive? The first hypothesis that showed in the newspapers before they found out that it was Guilherme, people started thinking it was black magic, but that was very quickly ruled out. The studio employees had another hypothesis. This happened because they were probably having an affair. 3 employees of the telenovela studios claimed that that day that she was murdered, Guilherme tried to give her 3 different notes. She didn't talk about what was written in the notes, but she kind of made comments that made them believe that he was harassing her for a romantic relationship. A popular hypothesis was that Paula was so jealous of their on-screen relationship that she used to claim to everyone that she hated that he was working at a soap opera, and she couldn't even watch them together at the soap opera because she would watch her husband making out with some lady. Guilherme tried to say that Daniela was harassing him for a relationship off screen. She was asking him to leave his wife and she would leave her husband to be with him. But very quickly, all of these allegations were shut down because friends and family used to say that her and her husband, BuZgal, were very loving, and there was no apparent reason for her to want to leave that relationship. The prosecution reasoning for why they did it was that he was really angry that he wasn't getting enough screen time, and he was harassing her to persuade her mother into giving him more screen time. He had already been cut from a couple of episodes, so he was growing increasingly worried. He also believed that Daniela actually persuaded her mom to get rid of him. And he got so angry that he decided to talk to his wife and brew up a plan to get rid of Daniela. Many years later, Guilherme gave his own version of things. He said that Daniela wanted to talk to him. She approached him, asking him to wait for her and have a conversation. He mentioned that his wife has already been growing very suspicious of their relationship. She would, by surprise, arrive at the studio. The day that Daniela asked him to have a talk, his wife was at the parking lot at the studio when he came out. He told his wife what was going on, and his wife said, "No, it's okay. You can talk to her, but I want to hear it." She hides in the back seat of the car, and Daniela comes out. That's when they both take the picture with the children. Daniela tells him, "I don't want to talk here in the studio parking lot. Drive behind me and I'll take you somewhere where we can talk." And there they started talking. While they were conversating, Paula comes out of the car irritated and starts screaming and cursing at Daniela. As he's trying to contain the situation, he claims that he grabbed Daniela into a chokehold, and as he was grabbing her, he was trying to push his wife away, and every time he pushed his wife away, he would tug a little stronger on Daniela's neck, and that obstructed Daniela's breathing, making her pass out. She passes out on the floor. Now he believes that she's dead. They drag her into the grass area. He claims that he checked to see if Daniela was alive. He failed at doing it because he's a dumbass and he doesn't know how to check people's vital signs. He assumed that she was dead, and then he started kicking into a criminal mindset. So he altered his license plate. He claims that as he's doing that, he checks to see where Paula is at, and he can't find her. So he goes to try to find her, and she is stabbing Daniela. While he's trying to get her off Daniela and go, the person who passed by is writing down the license plates. And at that time, they're writing the wrong license plate, the altered license plate. They wait until the person who was passing by leave and they flee the scene. He confirms that they take the scissors with them, and he confirms that he tosses the scissors in the sea. I try to see a version from Paula, but I couldn't find any because she won't talk about it. This story shook Rio and has people traumatized to this day, and it was such a mystery. There are so many versions of the story that I don't even know which one to believe. I do believe, in my opinion, that they got it very easy. They should have done more time, but the justice system in Brazil is just, it's very revolting to see how little time they served. But I don't want to give too much of my opinion on this one. I want to hear your opinion. If you want more information about this case, I will try to leave as many links as possible down below. There is also a 13-minute video from a Brazilian girl who does this story in Portuguese. If you want to watch it, I'll also have the link below for you. If I left something out and you know about the story, let me know. I'll put it on a pinned comment, or I'll pin your comment. Also, let me know what you think about this story. Do you think they did enough time? Do you think they should have done more time? How much time you think they should have done? Just let me know your opinion about this case. Anyways, you guys, if you like this video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're super close to monetization. I have already made the hours. All I need now is the subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate if you do now. Also, let me know if you want another true crime story. I will do more for you guys. This is your channel. Whatever you want me to do and wherever you want me to take this channel, I will. Also, don't forget to follow me in my socials, on my Instagram or my TikTok or my Storyfire. I got a Storyfire. All of my socials are gonna be down below in the description box, so don't forget to go over there and follow me on them. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I will see you in the next upload. Bye!
Pensa, queridona, pensa bem.
Mas quem é que tá se engalfinhando aqui, Domingos?
Yasmin me disse que você estava com raiva dela.
E eu lá tenho raiva da Yasmin, Domingos.